after I was able to get him out of the house, I had the locks changed, friends came and helped move his stuff outside. I had some time alone and clarity. And I woke up in the middle of the night with a panic attack and the voice in my head saying, he's hunting again.
On the mic with us today is Kia Lee, author of her memoir, Lighthouse, in which she recounts her journey to surviving and healing from narcissistic abuse.
It had gotten so far, so fast, and so violent that just at the end, I just was like, this can't be my life. Like, how did I get here?
Kia delves deep into the subtleties of a dynamic between a narcissist and their victim, how and why she was drawn into such a toxic relationship, and how she finally navigated her way out of it.
Yeah, my main concern after enduring going through all of that, because it's over, thank God, I didn't want anything stored in my body, one, so I wanted to release it because it was important to me to not carry anything from the past into any relationship into the future.
Kia is passionate about sharing her story with the world.
I'm your host, Ina Korobkina, founder of Jewel Branding Studios and creator of the Business in Style fashion course for entrepreneurs. And
I'm Ingrid J. Monday, aka Ms. Monday, a photographer and filmmaker and the author of the book, The Secrets of Becoming a Boss Bitch with a Heart of Gold.
welcome to another episode of the Rise Up and Fix It podcast. Dear listener, you might notice that I am dubbed in this episode. We experienced some technical difficulties, but the episode was so good and Kia offered so much valuable insight. We did not want to re-record because of this little blunder. We hope you enjoy the episode. Hi, Kia. You wrote this incredibly insightful book, diving deep into your experience of surviving narcissistic abuse. You shared all the events that transpired from the moment that you met this person and all the thought processes during all the events in such incredibly vivid detail. I felt like I was actually living through your eyes. Like, wow. I mean, for some women, it is incredibly difficult to find that light after experiencing something like this that really dims it. You not only reclaimed that light, you went on to write a whole book about it, which is incredible because, they say our body doesn't know the difference between our thoughts and what is happening to us in the moment. So you practically relived the events as you wrote this book. My question to you is, where did you find the strength and the courage to live through this event again as you wrote this book?
Yeah, my main concern after enduring going through all of that, because it's over, thank God, I didn't want anything stored in my body, one, so I wanted to release it because it was important to me to not carry anything from the past into any relationship into the future, be it work, intimate, friends, children that I'll have in the future. I didn't want to carry it forward. I wanted it to end there and end with me. And I was obsessed with figuring out, what did I miss, right? Because I knew that I'm intelligent. I know that I'm self-aware and I know my flaws as well. But it had gotten so far, so fast, and so violent that just at the end, I just was like, this can't be my life. Like, how did I get here? So it just started by me writing after my therapy sessions in a journal. I was just obsessed with going over every single interaction that I could remember and dismantling, like, oh my God, that was a first sign. That was a red flag. And as you do that, you start to uncover and deconstruct the lies. And then you really see how deep, the web and the hole goes. It was crazy. Where I found the light, I don't know. I definitely think it's some ancestral support in there because as most women, I just wanted it to go away. But I knew that I couldn't, as I say in the book, stuff it down anymore. And I had to just keep letting everything come up and come out to be processed.
For those listeners who are tuning in and haven't had a chance to read your book yet, and they're learning about you, Kia,
Yeah.
um, your book starts off with so much hope and dreams, and you talk
Yeah.
about who you were when you first got to New York.
Yeah.
Um, and you just, got into this wrong relationship. You started dating a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you went through is like every single woman's worst nightmare.
100%.
Like you have all these hopes, all these dreams, all these amazing things. You're in a new city, you're thinking all these, great things. You
Yeah.
meet this guy and you think, oh, there's so much potential, right?
Right. Right.
And then it went so dark. And so we're a podcast that believes that we can heal through hearing stories, and our listeners will benefit from reading your book. But can you walk us through your experiences, that first date to discovering who he really was, right? Because he hid so much from you, right?
Yeah, so we knew of each other. We both went to a gym, a CrossFit, if that, specificity helps. And, there was a lot of events and, we would see each other in passing, so we knew of each other, but not much other than that. The pandemic happened and, he was always kind of in the background, like, hey, we should grab a drink, we should grab a beer. But I wasn't really into him, like at all. There's a certain way that I move, I travel, I do a lot of things, so I try to, connect with people that do the same, right? So if you kind of don't leave your 4-foot world and I'm all over the world, then, it's probably not a good match, right? Because something's got to give, and I don't want to give up what I'm doing. So the pandemic happened, which pretty much made everyone's world very small. And we just connected on the internet, so online dating was like prevalent. So connecting online was a thing. And I say was because there's no way I'm ever getting back on an app. And we just started talking. And then the world started opening back up. We hung out for a drink finally. And I wasn't really feeling it. And I saw, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being, bougie or stuck up. So I agreed to go again. And the conversation just wasn't there. There was something that rang hollow. And I've been told that I can be intimidating. So I was like, okay, maybe if he asks me one more time, I'll go again because maybe it's me. And this goes back to us women, not listening to intuition and thinking, I'm intimidating, and all of these things. Like, I will never tell someone that they're intimidating ever again because maybe if I am, then that would have protected me, right? So the third date was very different than the first two. He went all out, went to took us to the vineyards upstate. We did movie theater, drive-in, like literally the perfect day, almost as if he did his research on what a perfect day for me would be. And again, that comments in hindsight, but the first two dates were more as speed, right? Some random, okay, bar restaurants in Astoria, not much effort, not much money needs to be spent. And, but I think he realized that like, that doesn't work on me. If I can take myself there, like, I mean, I appreciate it, but no thanks. So we started seeing each other fairly quickly after that because everything just felt so perfect and right. And, things were moving fast and not really from me, from him. And previously, I was used to having to push the relationship along. So now all of a sudden, everything that I've ever wanted is now happening. And now it's my time, it's my turn. You hear your girlfriends talk about their stories and then you're like, "Oh my God, this is it for me." So everything was, great and normal, for a little bit. And then, little things started happening where I would just get little like feelings, where his words weren't necessarily matching his actions. He would get a little possessive about my time and my space. And previously, my ex before him really didn't want to spend much time and wasn't around as much. And it was like a big deal, like to like I was asking for too much. So fast forward to this relationship, I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm, still messed up from my previous person. And, this is normal for someone want so much of your time. And then, he like basically moved in and everything's great. And, that's where things really start to go south in a very slow and methodical way.
There's a common misconception that people who get into abusive relationships with a narcissist specifically are delicate wallflowers, but that's not true at all. These people present a very confident persona and they're very outgoing and very charming, and they slowly win you over. And then when they have you, then they turn on you. And that's what basically happened to you.
They target, they choose their victims, their predators. They choose their
Mm-hmm.
victims or targets, however you like to see yourself. I don't see myself as a victim. I see myself as a survivor,
Mm-hmm.
or target, someone that's successful, someone,
Mm-hmm.
I did have poor boundaries. I'm a people pleaser, I'm a personal assistant, executive assistant by trade. So my life, I move by, making things work for everyone and getting things, done the way they need to get done. So that works for me professionally, but in my personal relationships, that can lead to poor boundaries and saying yes, even when I'd rather say no. And so they see those types of characteristics and that draws them. I'm a hard
Mm-hmm.
worker. I don't give up easy.
Yeah.
So, he'll say like, oh, she'll take this abuse, and they test you. They'll do one
Mm-hmm.
little thing and see what you say and see what you do. And it keeps going and going and going. And they keep pushing the envelope and, conditioning you,
Mm-hmm.
because no one is going to punch you in the face on the first date.
No.
Why? They're not
Mm-hmm.
going to get what they want, right? So it's this
Mm-hmm.
slow thing to see how long they can take it to get what they want out of it, which is everything.
A narcissist is a strong label, and it's a very rare personality, I would say. There's not many people out there that are narcissists, but when we come across one, it seems like such an extreme personality that it makes such a mark on us. So, at what point in your journey did you actually give him that label and go, oh my God, I'm dealing with a narcissist here? And what resources did you turn to that allowed you to label him as such?
It's interesting. It wasn't until after the physical violence. I always knew something was wrong. Like about 18 months in, something didn't sit right. There were a lot of things going on, but they created an environment of confusions with sleep deprivation. And I was always like just running around. They always make comments. So you're running around the house, you're running around, everything's for them. You're never really present, enjoying your time. If I'm out with my friends, I'm looking at my phone because he's like, where are you? I thought we were having time today. And so it wasn't until the end, unfortunately for me, that when I was sitting and looking and going through Instagram and trying to like Google and like, what is this? I started to see content where I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And that's how I knew. And I just kept going. I bought all the books. I have all the books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I knew. And I talked to my therapist, who obviously can't diagnose someone, but based on what I shared and, reading books, I was able to hands down 100% diagnose this person as that. Like it goes beyond someone who loves themselves a little too much, like we all know someone, we're like, oh, they're narcissistic, but no, this is someone, I'm speaking on someone who is demonic and evil and goes out of their way to do bad and harm to other individuals for their own benefit and their gain.
Yeah, it's such a stigmatized topic, such a taboo topic, and you're literally a lighthouse. You're shining a bright light on it and diving into all the details and all, like you said, the shame, the guilt, everything that a woman experiences and
Yeah, it was
normalizes.
important to me because as I was sitting staring at myself in the mirror, which I made myself do the entire time until my face healed, and even when I go back to those photos now, like it still like gets me. I never ever thought I'd see myself like that. I never want to see myself like that again. And I felt that if I could put out all of the embarrassing things, all of the things that I would never want to tell anyone into a book, I can potentially help protect and or validate other people's experiences, right? Because if I stay silent, then that means I'm ashamed and that can be used against me. But if I speak on it and put it out there, then I'm taking ownership and I'm free of it. No one can ever say, "Oh, well, so and so said this about you." Well, no, duh, it's in the book. So, I'm owning it, so it's to help encourage other women to take their power back and to step into who they are. And that's the start of healing, right? And I felt so suppressed for that entire relationship. And in the book, I go beyond that. I talk about my father and my childhood because it's not just about this person. It's about going back and figuring out what is it in us that remains unhealed, that we have the choice to choose to dive in and to heal. Because if I don't do that, then it's just a cycle that's going to keep repeating in various forms.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In your book, you talk about the illusion of being, how he created this illusion of being caring and generous, right?
Yeah.
While hiding his true nature. Can you elaborate
Yeah.
on how he managed to deceive you? For listeners that are, learning about narcissists, what are some warning signs?
Sure. Someone that comments on what you wear. I work out at the gym all the time, every day. I always wear sports bra and shorts. In the winter, sports bra and pants. I run hot, not that I need an explanation to do so. But he would make comments that I was like fishing for attention or that I had fans at the gym, that he better not catch me wearing, a sports bra. And I'm like, I am a grown woman. I pay my own bills. No one, not even my mother, is going to tell me that I can't wear something. And it wasn't like I was being crazy, like wearing, a triangle bikini to the gym. So that would be a sign. When they make comments that you're flirting with the waiter because you're just being polite and nice. So when you find yourself shrinking down to basically keep the peace, to me, that's a sign you're in an abusive relationship because I just would not interact with servers because he would accuse me of flirting with them or making an eye at them. And that's, again, and that's not who I am, but that's crazy. So if you're feeling like you're walking on eggshells, you're probably in something you want to get out of immediately.
Or what I've realized and what I've
Mhm.
learned is that narcissists have this ability to crush you, but then just as you're like so fed up, they come and love bomb you.
Yeah.
And
It's
they love bomb you so much that you start thinking you're going crazy. Like you're like,
yeah,
oh, you love
yeah,
me now.
yeah,
You must have been you probably just going through something. Like,
100%.
right? And that's why the relationship keeps going, right?
Yeah, we
Like,
would get into an argument. He would give me the silent treatment, which I was not
mm,
used to. I
mhm.
assumed that it was because of his traumatic upbringing, because they always have some kind of, origin story. And then the next day he'd show up with flowers and nothing was said. And if I tried to bring it up, oh, don't worry about it, or we're not going to talk about it. And I'm like, but I think the right thing to do is to talk about it so it doesn't happen again. And we can discuss like your behavior and if I did something, because again, I'm very conscious and aware and would like to know. And, he would make eyes at me in public, almost like you could call it like a dog whistle, where if I was doing something or being too much, he would look at me with this like intense stare. And I would immediately know like to back down and calm down. Otherwise, it's going to be an issue or like I was going to going to get screamed at in the car.
Usually
Yeah.
it's to protect their image, right? Just
Yeah.
because they want to be perceived as
Correct.
this perfect
Mhm.
individual,
Yeah.
in front of everyone, right?
Yeah.
So,
So it always happened when we were with his family, specifically his dad, who was always joking around and they have history. I only know the history from the ex's perspective. When I meet people, I treat them and meet them where they are now. I'm not going to judge someone's father or whomever on something that they may or may not have done 20 years ago. That's how I roll. So if they're treating me with respect and you're introducing me to them, I have to be under the assumption everything's cool. So we would get together and hang out and we would say, jokes in jest. And he would hate that. he would make jokes on me. You know, I would be the butt of a joke, but if I dare do that to him, it was rage like I've never seen rage before.
Mm.
And in the moment, we would, you know, be laughing and he'd go, yeah, okay, and would give me the look. And then as soon as we got downstairs in the elevator onto the street, it would start. Who do you think you are? You drink too much, you do this too much, and I don't do anything too much. And it was always he would try and make it seem like I had a drinking problem, which you'll see it, if you read the book, you'll understand he was always methodical about that because he was trying to spin a narrative because narcissists know that there's always going to be a final end, right? So they need to make and build a story so that other people kind of believe them, you know. But what he didn't calculate about me is I'm love family and I'm very like participatory, you know. So if I'm there, I'm in it. So you can't really make up lies about me because people know and can see who I am. But
Mhm.
he would always just do that. And I mean, it's crazy. And then after that, the next day, he'd like, oh, let's go to breakfast. Let's, you know, it was always like highs and low lows, you know, always. And where you're just like, what's going on? And then he would be like, oh, well, you know, my dad was abusive. And then I'm like, oh, I feel bad. It's just, it's crazy making.
In your book, you wrote that you learned a lesson that the quote, giving light does not guarantee getting light in return. So I think this is so important because you can be so full of light
Mhm.
as you really have to be careful who you're interacting with. It doesn't, you could be healed. It doesn't, you can still attract a
Oh yeah,
narcissist, right?
100%. Yeah. You know, I think I even say that in the beginning of the book. They see
Hmm.
something in you and they want it for themselves. They need to have it, and you know, they they'll do anything to get it. And I mean, even now, it's funny because once you see them a mile away forever. I've had a few people approach me and I smiled and I was nice, but in my head I said, I already know who and what you are. But it's interesting, the more aware you become and the brighter your light gets in that awareness, they fall away. I have certain
Hmm.
friends that don't call, don't come around, and that's exactly why. They know what they
Hmm.
are and they're afraid of being exposed. They don't want to be exposed because they don't feel good, you know, about
Hmm.
who and what they are. And, you know, in the dating scene, I can just see it, you know, it's just so crazy, you know, they walk up and I see it, I can smell it, and I'm polite and I go, you know, have a good day, you know.
Hmm.
I don't
Good.
like watching reruns.
Yeah, I remember when I was single. Now I'm in a good relationship, but God, there was a time there where I was dating a lot, and
Yeah,
I would go like I was online, but I would never give too much online. Like I would be
right,
very secretive, and then I would do these 10-minute coffee dates, quick, because there's so much people can write and talk on the phone, but when you're in their presence,
mhm,
that's when you feel it in your gut right away. You know if this person's
right,
right for you, or
right,
if you have
yeah,
any anxiety, it's like stay the f away.
right, and don't
It's like
try and figure out
yeah.
why. Work on yourself. If somebody's not together, keep it moving.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. That's what I've learned, you know. People are who they are and who they show you to be, you know, not what they say they are, you know, because this person would always have all these grand ideas. And then I looked at their life and I'm like, you've achieved any of it, you know. In fact, you've done more damage, you know, as I uncovered the truth of, you know, of who and what they were. I'm like, I'm not the first woman. You've done this to many people and you're just a really bad person, you know. So it's like look at the fruits of what, you know, the tree is bearing. And
Mhm.
if there's nothing there and it's barren, there's a good reason why.
You also mentioned in your book, retaliation isn't limited to physical acts alone.
Yeah.
Abusers may resort to tactics like filing false police reports
Yeah.
or making profound allegations in a bid to tarnish the victim's reputation and credibility.
Yeah.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what
Yeah.
happened later on in your relationship?
Sure. So after I call it the incident, in March of 2023, um, I wasn't going to involve the police because there was too much going on and I just wanted it to go away. After I was able to get him out of the house, I had the locks changed, friends came and helped move his stuff outside. I had some time alone and clarity. And actually, I woke up in the middle of the night with a panic attack and the voice in my head saying, he's hunting again. And that's when I knew I had to call the cops and make a report. I said, because I know what I know. And if I do nothing, and then the next person he does this to dies or gets even more seriously injured than I was, this is on me, right? I had a sense of duty. So I called, I made a report, I told them the truth on everything because I never lie. Because when you lie, you have to remember what you said. And it's not a good look. So he was arrested eventually because New York City is horrible. Eventually was arrested. And then about maybe 4 or 5 weeks later, he then accused me of attacking him and pointing a gun at him, which never happened. And I said to them, and it took them a while. They did their investigation, of which is not very clear to me because no one ever talked to me or came to my house. And then they decided that there was validity to it and they arrested me. And I went to jail. I sat in a jail holding cell, and then I went to central booking. And then when I was being processed, his lawyer went over to my lawyer and said, well, does she just want to drop all the charges? So I was like, wow, that was a tactic because he knew my biggest fear was going to jail. Because when you're in a relationship, you share things, right? And, my biggest fear ever since I was a kid, for literally no reason, because I'm a very good human being, never been pulled over, never gotten a speeding ticket. That was my biggest fear because of the confines and all of the things that go with it. And I said, like, absolutely not. I've been through the hard part now, like I'm seeing it through and I didn't do those things. So I think anyone else that would have broken them. But I looked at it as, how can I be an advocate for women if I haven't had the full experience? So I thanked the universe for the experience. My record is clean. They found me, they didn't charge me on anything because it's false. And I have my certificate of, everything being clean framed literally on my wall there, like I said in the book. It's the second most expensive, certificate I own next to my college degree. So it will forever be hung. Um, and, it's true. They will go to the ends of the earth to not take accountability, which is crazy. So he didn't deny beating me, choking me. He just added, well, she did to me too. And I said, well, then where are his medical reports? Because I have medical reports. I have photos. I said, I have camera footage of him leaving with nothing on his face. I said, so, so just document everything and be prepared for everything. I had a strong belief in God and that, lies against me they won't prosper, they just can't.
I just got chills.
In your book, you confided how lost you were when it all happened, not knowing what the proper protocols were in terms of how to go about filing charges, wondering what repercussions there might be if you do it wrong. You mentioned that the legal system can be complicated. And now you have this roadmap based on navigating this horrible journey. And now other women come to you if they're facing something similar and you guide them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was interesting because there was a point where I'm like, who am I to offer help to anyone? And I said, well, you wrote a book, so you're someone who's willing to share their story. And then in going through my story, there were several people that I interacted with on Instagram, Jill Wise, where I was able to get a coaching and really talk through. And, everyone, you don't have to go to a therapist. Like, therapist is great and therapy is important. I have that. But sometimes you just need to talk to somebody who has lived through what you're going through, because you don't want to feel the judgment. You don't want to have questions asked that shouldn't be asked, right? So someone that has gone through this knows what it feels like, knows what the fear is, knows what the shame is, knows what it feels like to not be able to clearly think. So to be able to be someone's support, whether it's just hear them vent, I had someone send me a message and said, I just need to talk, and I was there. I said very little. I affirmed, where I needed to affirm. And sometimes that's all someone needs. And just like you said, a roadmap of like, where do I start? What questions do I ask my lawyer? How do I find a lawyer? I didn't have much time to find my lawyer, and by the grace of God and a very good girlfriend, I got one of the best by a Google chance. So
Mhm.
it's crazy. But sometimes you just need a sister, a partner that's going to sit there and listen and say, with a clean mind, with no skin in the game, okay, this is what you should do, or this is what I would do if I were you. And you take the bits and pieces that work for you in your life.
We always love to touch upon
Yeah.
spirituality in all our conversations. And hearing you speak, it's so clear there's divine guidance working for you and with you.
Amen. I'm definitely divinely protected. There's no other way to explain it. There's many miracles have happened in my life, and it's clear to me that I'm here to be a lighthouse to other women, to other people in need. Not that this doesn't happen to men. I just witness a lot of women go through it, and just the way society is at times, it's not as easy for them to be strong and come forward. So it's become so clear to me that that is my purpose and why I'm here. It's been activated.
Yes.
This is such a stigmatized and taboo topic, and you are truly a lighthouse, shining a bright light
Yeah.
on this dark topic, and in a way showing women out of something horrible that they might be stuck
Right.
in.
And life is amazing after it. When you're going through it, like of course you just want it to be over, but you want it to be over in such a way where you're empowered and then it's really over, right? You don't want to have it over and stuff things under the rug because it's all going to come out eventually, right? So you want it to be over and empowering you to, thrive forward. I really have no regrets. I mean, if I didn't have that relationship, the book wouldn't exist. And, I do believe if I help one person, it was all worth it. And I truly do believe that. I would like it if my life didn't have the trauma, but again, if it helps other people, then I'm thankful to go through it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Shay, for being here and telling and sharing. Or Kia, thank you. Thank you so much, Kia, for being here and sharing your story. Our listeners are definitely going to learn from your book and reading your book. And
Thank
it's
you.
great to have that support when you're going through something because narcissists are smart. They are very
Yeah.
manipulative. And,
Yeah.
it is not easy getting out, like
Yeah.
they get in and
Hmm.
then it takes, a lot of effort to do it. And like you said, you got to document it. You
Hmm.
really got to, because if you don't, they're going to, turn it on you, right? Like
Yeah.
put you in jail and
Right.
then, right? And then you're
Yeah.
like
It's
sitting there,
it's
you're like,
crazy.
I've just gone through abuse,
Yeah.
trauma,
Yeah.
like what the, and now I'm sitting in jail and this
Right.
guy's out there, like what the F, right? And
Yeah, that's what I said to my lawyer. She's like, "How you doing?" I said, "Great." I said, "This is exactly where, a victim of domestic violence should be thriving, right?" And she laughed because like that's all we could do in that moment, It's
Yeah,
just
it's
the
so sad.
laws, and just need to come around to like the reality of what's going on. And just a little common sense, I think, in the prosecutor's office would go a long way. I also
Mhm.
dropped my book off to the DA's office, so hopefully they've read it.
Speaking of books, you're writing another one. Do you want to
Yeah,
share a little bit about that?
Yes.
yeah. So subsequently, the abuse and everything happened in March of 2023. My court ended in August of 2023. And in October of 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
Mm.
Um, I started chemo in October of 2023. I finished chemo in March of 2024. I had a unilateral mastectomy in April of 2024, and I here before you cancer free. So my second book is about mortality and facing mortality and, the spiritual light behind all of that. And, you'd be surprised when things happen and what's important really isn't that important. And, rebirthing into a new life and a new me. And it's going to be in a way to like help other people. It's about the cancer because that was like the thing behind it, that, because I thought I was done. I never thought I was writing any books. Then I had the one, and I was like, okay, great. And then this happened, and I was like, oh man, I guess this is another story that needs to be shared, and the spiritual stuff that, comes up and the questions, because I felt like in March I did die, and that the person that came out of that was someone different. And then the cancer thing happened, and when I woke up from my surgery, I felt the density that I felt before gone. I felt like I was pure light, and I even like turned to my mom and I said, it's gone, like I'm pure light now. So
Mm.
it my goal is to be done by this time next year, so hopefully I'll be able to come back and send you guys another book. But it's just about, really tapping into why we're here and where here is, and, you know, not taking our lives for granted, because we get what we get, and it can be much shorter than what we think we're going to get.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
shining a bright light on what is such a dark topic. Let's cleanse
Yeah.
this world with the light and heal. I'm so grateful. We're so grateful that you shared your story in this book with us on our podcast today. We can't wait to read more of your writing. Thank you so much, Kia.
Yes. Thank you so much, Kia.
Thank you for sharing your platform with me.
If you enjoyed our interview today, please share and like it.
And if you have a unique story on how you are creatively engaging with the world, we can help you share it in a multitude of different ways. We are experts in crafting stunning photos, videos, and compelling narratives. Our mission is to make you and your brand stand out.
Please visit our website, www.riseupandfixit.com, to learn more and to connect with us.